expert, which is great. Ed was here, who's a front runner, also said some positive things. And people like Claudia Barragon and others that supported. Yeah. So that's good. So we got to keep that up, right? And then I just want to emphasize before I turn to Kirby that this was a historic integrated space. In DC in the 30s and 40s, all the city parks were segregated, strictly segregated. This was owned and controlled by the Army Corps of Engineers. They didn't care who was there. They were like absentee landlords. So at night, people would go and sleep on McMillian because it was cool. DC's a hot, humid jurisdiction. So people of all races, all types would go and sleep and hang out at McMillian, and the Army Corps didn't, try to restrict that. So that's an important legacy of a more open and inclusive city. Right, and and that as we see, and they'll get into this more. There's a no bid contract to develop and make it a town center, like you're going to see up at Walter Reed near me. There's going to be another town center there with housing and Whole Foods. But we don't need that here. Okay, so that's my bit. I'm going to let Kirby Lyman, we try to put the Millen Park talk, and then we'll have some other speakers and get involved with McMillian.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Where we are right now, which is the court case, you can see there's been some work on the site here that started on August 16th. In February last year, we got a very bad decision from the court. The DC Court of Appeals said this can go ahead, this development, on the condition that you follow the Historic Preservation Act, which says you must show proof of the financial ability to complete the project before you issue any demolition permits, and DCRA must independently confirm that proof of the ability to complete the project. The basis for this in law, the Historic Preservation Act, makes perfect sense. It's so that you got this approved project here, and then you start demolishing, you say, I can't build my project. So you got the worst of all worlds. You got the historic aspect is gone, and it's vacant lot because you can't finish your project. So we challenge that in court and said, where are your documents showing the financial proof, the financial ability to complete the project? With the DC's Court of Appeals bumped it down and says this might be a trial, so you're going to Superior Court. The judge said, where's your documents proving your financial ability to complete the project, and where's DCRA's independent confirmation of that? And we haven't got that, Your Honor. We've got a couple of letters that are expressions of intent, letters of interest, things like that. And the court was outraged. If you wanted to buy my car, and you said, I need cash on the barrel or a credit line, he says, I'm interested in you buying your car. That doesn't quite cut it. So the Superior Court judge said, I see no evidence at all that they have done this. So it's bumped back up to the DC Court of Appeals. At the same time, Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, whose project this is saying, this is simply a permitting issue, so we can go to the Office of Administrative Hearings. And our position is, and the Office of Administrative Hearings, the first decision, they said no. The High Court's interpretation of the Historic Preservation Act is not a permitting issue. But they haven't written a decision yet, so this is going to be going back to the DC Court of Appeals on that lack of ability to complete the project. Now, there are four main components to this. There's the park and the southern edge of the compound. They have the financial ability to complete that project. It's a line item in the DC budget. Next up is a whole bunch of townhouses from EYA. They probably have the money to do that. It's EYA, they're huge. Next up is a group of apartments by buildings by Jer Lynch. He probably does, big developer. The problem is this one right here, that there's evidence that we have found through Freedom of Information Act, they never intended to build this thing. Never intended to build. Now again, the law is you build not just any project, financial proof of the ability to build what was approved, and a medical center was approved. The proof there I'm looking at is, they keep saying these guys are dying to come across the street. No, they've offered it for almost 10 years. These guys, development process, that's Children's Hospital, they're going into Walter Reed. all the other hospitals up here in their 10, 15, and 20-year plans are expanding on their existing footprint. No expression of interest to come over here. Even more crucial, I think, 2 DC agencies, including the Department of Behavioral Health, at the recommendation of the mayor, sent a letter to the development team to say, I understand you've got a whole bunch of medical space here, we'd like some. And the response to that from the development team is that would not be appropriate.
Oh.
Now, given that we're raising the issue of do I have a tenant, wouldn't you think they would say, come on, we're glad to have you here. We've got proof, we've got a tenant, let's go. It looks like what they actually intend to do is get easy to demolish the whole thing, get rid of this pesky historic preservation problem, and then build high-rise condos with a stunning view of downtown. Nothing. It's missing there. So that's why they can get no more than a letter of interest from some banks and whatnot. If you went to Morgan Stanley and said, we want proof of our project, Morgan Stanley would say, show us the project you're going to build. Well, we don't actually intend to build that. And you want a letter of credit. So I think that's where we are. I don't think they can actually get it. But this is stuff. They say this is pre-demolition activity here so that they can see what the top of those cells, the concrete cells, is to get an idea about how to demolish it there. The injunction said stop. But it started on August 16th and it stopped the day that the injunction went out. So we're waiting for the Office of Administrative Hearings to conclude examining DEMPED's argument that this is just a routine permit matter. It doesn't have to go to the High Court. We don't think so, but that may end up in a trial. It's possible. We'll have to see how that goes. But I think the Office of Administrative Hearing is saying your arguments involve a decision of the High Court and the Historic Preservation Act, neither of which are concerns of the Office of Administrative Hearing. That's where we are right now. It's stopped by the injunction. There's no activity in there. There are bunches of cameras all over the place. I don't know if anyone has ever been arrested sneaking in there for tours, but they've got cameras. People have been escorted off the property for the arrests. You see the panels, the solar panels, the nearest one is right there. There's a camera at the base there, and that solar panel powers it. And apparently those cameras all got onto a trailer, a little gray trailer down near the southern end there. Apparently they go on there. So that's where we are right now. What Ann mentioned there, the use of this park by people of all colors. It's an established fact and it's included in the DC Historic Landmark write-up. This was Washington's first de facto racially integrated park. One of my neighbors still alive in the 90s over there said, I learned to ride a bicycle on this land here at a time when people of my color were not welcome at any other public park in the city. And this is the high regard, this demolition. This is the high regard to our elected city council who's trying to say that previous federal stuff is bad. Look what they're doing.
I know you could. Robin's going to say something, and then I want Renee to talk about the comp plan real quick, and then I'll have candidates. I can lead into the comp plan. Or you can talk about the comp plan. Okay.
Hi, I'm Robin Diener. I'm not running for anything. Big supporter of all these brave people who have put themselves on the line to take public office. So thank you to all of you who are doing this. I'm a big fan of planning, and this is a complete disaster planning-wise. When did the city buy it? The 80s? 90s? 87. 87. And it's still sitting here like this. That really bothers Mayor Bowser. She said she used to drive by here with her mom, and her mom would say, when are they going to do something with that place? As a mother should. And so she's dedicated to getting a really crappy plan done. What we would all like to see is throw out that plan, which does not have widespread public support, and do something visionary. This is an amazing site. Cities and countries around the world are using their historic resources like this is one of the only sand filtration plants left in water planning for the people that have moved here and reinvigorated this neighborhood and the neighbors that have been here for a century in some cases. So that leads us to the comprehensive plan. But I just want to say to Mayor Bowser, who I support basically, that this is a major failure, a failure of imagination. I work on libraries. In 2002, the neighborhood as part of a plan that the Office of Planning conducted the outreach for, they asked for a library. How hard is it to put a library in the plan? We have, over the past 15 years, spent more than $500 million on new libraries. We can figure out how to do one here. Anyway, go Stronghold, go McMillian.
Yeah.
Go Blue
Yes.
How about Karen Rand and then Peter?
Listen, I'm very ready to run for Ward 4 council seat. There's only 2 of us on the ballot. It's the only race where there's a one-on-one, a hand-to-hand, a mano-a-mano. But the fact is, our district has already chosen those who are going to do the bidding of the developers in the city. And that's a sad commentary. When we talk about McMillian Park, our campaign, the Redford Council campaign, speaks on 2 issues primarily. One is a further gentrification in the city. And I've been very loud about it. When I ran for the at-large seat in the special election of 2013, I was painted as a race baiter because I said the G word. Yes, that's on YouTube. And yes, that is an issue that has brought itself to bear, where now all the candidates talk about it, where all the city believes that that is a fact that we must reckon with in the district. Well, you know, no better place to reckon with it than right here. The other issue we have is the fact that the developers are railroading their way through this district. And the voice of those who live here, those who've been here for 20, 30, 40, and in some cases 3 generations, 4 generations, are not being heard. Now I know what that looks like. I'm an ANC commissioner in 4B05, and they had what they call an urban farming project, which was supposed to address food deserts. But they were giving the plan, no bid at all. We were giving the plan, gave the plan virtually to a donor of the mayor who was going to grow an orchard and sell it to ANCSO, who's right there on 7th and Kennedy Street. Well, the residents, they said, I'm so glad we have a representative now. We don't know what this is. And if we don't know, then we believe, this is what the residents told me, we believe we are not being heard. Well, I believe with them. They allowed me to organize them. And when no one else thought it could happen, we stopped the plan, and now that back alley project, that square, which is known as Lot 69, is now in the hands of the residents.
Yay.
All right? And they are organizing and having their self-determination of their land, their property, the thing that affects their property value. They learned the history of that project just like we now know the history of McMillian Park. They learned what could be just like we know what could be with McMillian Park. The question is the political will. Will we continue to do the same thing and expect a different result? Will we continue to elect Democrats who don't care about our interests? That's the thing that hurts me so bad. It'd be different if they act like they loved us, but they don't even act like it. So it's time for us to convince our neighbors that there is an alternative. There is a different way. There is a new way to make a new day. Ready?
All right, thank you everybody for coming. My name is Peter Bolton. I'm the DC Statehood Green Party candidate in the Ward 2 race.
Yes.
I don't know as much about McMillian Park and the situation here as many people present do. But I'll tell you what I do know. The former representative on the council for Ward 2 was a man named Jack Evans. He served, if it can even be called that, the people of Ward 2 for almost 3 decades. During that time, he cozied up to developers and to other private interests. He took their money as part of a sordid quid pro quo in which he would do their bidding instead of serving the interests of his own constituents.
That's right. That's right. Tell it.
This culminated with him resigning in disgrace about a year ago and then having the nerve to re-enter the Democratic primary in June.
What nerve.
And
What
use
nerve.
financing.
The woman who won that primary is named Brooke Pinto. She hails from Greenwich, Connecticut, a suburb populated by Wall Street shysters, of which her father is an archetypal example. He bankrolled her campaign, potentially using the same sort of money that he was funneling to Russian oligarchs and to Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort,
Come on, tell it.
which both he and his daughter Brooke Pinto have been pictured at.
All right, come on. Tell it.
I entered this race to offer a radical progressive alternative, an eco-socialist alternative, and the option for the residents of Ward 2 to have someone who serves their interests and not the interests of private developers.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Come on.
Brooke Pinto has about $150,000 to spend, and I have under $2,000 to spend. But nonetheless, have been implemented with great success in other countries and other cities in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and elsewhere.
Yes.
If I do get elected, but even if I don't, I will continue to fight against the machinations of developers like the people here trying to tear up this park and turn it into one more piece in the gentrification juggernaut that has destroyed this city and basically turned refugees into countless numbers of people.
All right.
And pushed them into neighboring jurisdictions.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Yes.
Done with the gentrification juggernaut.
Yes.
We like it.
Very good.
Thank you everyone for being here again. I hope I can do whatever I can to be a part of this effort, and I hope to learn from the many people who know much more than I do about this issue. Please do check out my website, boltonforward2.org, join my campaign, and we can launch a resistance against Brooke Pinto, the so-called independents, and the Democratic Party that has failed this city. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for running. Thank you.
The so-called independence. I love it.
Peter and Carrie, I just want to say, if there's anyone else that wants to talk, we can, it's definitely an open mic. But I just wanted to mention a couple things real quick as we close. Not only are they not developing it, but they're paying money to a PR firm to oppose the lawsuits. That's another thing. It's in there in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
So
They came out in a hearing.
Yeah, and they're also paying money to mow this place where no one can use it. So hundreds of thousands of dollars are going out to keep this as a locked up, not used green space. So there's just so much.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask either Robin or Kirby to say how people can get involved. What's the best way? So that's our last point.
Kirby.
There's a webpage, okay. Friends of McMillian. So get involved.
Progressive and more able to fund essential needs which are neglected. You know that DC has one of the highest income inequality in the nation, and wealth inequality, and child poverty, life expectancy disparities between black and white are just shocking. And we have to address this.
Yes.
The council is not, because they have a mindset, well, in Europe mainly they call it neoliberal. It's basically privatized, pander to the billionaire class,
Come on.
as Bernie has termed it, and neglect the working class.
Very good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know that the working
Tell
class
it.
is suffering.
Tell
And
it.
many who consider themselves in the middle class are suffering in this deep crisis now. And guess what? In July, the council rejected a tiny increase in the income tax rate. And by the way, Brooke Pinto voted to defeat this tiny one. The vote was 8 to 5. But guess what? This year, those who are making, residents in D.C. who are making over $350,000 a year
Come on. Come on.
are getting over $400 million tax cut from the Trump legislation.
Come on.
And millionaires are even getting more because from the CARES Act. There is a tax base in D.C. that can not only address the budget shortfall, and we're in a real danger of, again, like the control board did with Tony Williams' assistance, we are again facing the prospect that they're going to balance the budget on the backs of the working class vote.
Not again.
Okay, so we need to tax the rich
Yes.
and fund the working class.
Yes.
And New Jersey just passed the millionaire's tax.
Yay, New Jersey.
And other states are considering it. We have to build pressure to create a movement in D.C. to tax the rich. And I'll just close it. Last week from the UK, I presented on a Zoom to the committee of the Metro Washington Council, AFL-CIO, this message, and they were very receptive. So we need to build support, and I just talked yesterday to Dominic Malden from 1DC, and they're on board to build a strong movement to address this crisis by taxing the rich. So I know this is a long-term, this is a long-term objective of our party, and it's part of a whole platform that I hear our great candidates espousing, that we have to have a different, let's say, policies in D.C. Instead of catering to the millionaire-billionaire class, we should serve the people of D.C. Okay, so I'm a little long-winded because I was a professor once right down here at Howard University.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Statehood Green Party, every single individual makes a difference being involved. This is not, it's almost a Sisyphean task of going up against the political machine in this city. So, again, I thank everybody for being here. And I hope to see a lot of you. I hope to see a lot of you again. Thank you.
Mike, just tell folks how they can connect with us. How they
There's
connect
plenty of
with
ways
us.
to connect with us. You can go to our website, statehoodgreensofdc.org. Statehoodgreensofdc.org.
Or
If anybody wants the website afterwards, I will send it to you. Just come to me after this is all over.
Yep, we're
You
out.
can also connect with us on Twitter.
yes.
Hold on, let me get the handle real quick. Let me give you
DC
the correct handle.
Statehood GP.
Yes, DC
At-
Statehood GP.
At DC Statehood GP.
Statehood GP.
That's right. Follow us on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter.
Or-
What's our Facebook?
Facebook is DC Statehood Green Party.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
please come and support our candidates. They are facing, again, just near impossible tasks, but it's a fight. It's a fight worth getting involved in. Again, thank you guys so much.
Yay!